How's it going today, YouTube, and welcome back to Shaner's Mechanic Life. So I got a Chevy here with a 5.3 liter V8, and it's showing some symptoms of a dirty throttle body. In this video, I'm going to tell you those symptoms and give you some advice on how to clean it, and also some advice to look out for before you even start the job. Well, let's get into it. Here we go. In my experience, the best way to clean a throttle body is take it right off the engine, which is usually quite simple once you get your intake ducting off, your electrical connector, usually like this one, 4 bolts, and it'll come right off. So once you get the throttle body off, put it aside, and right away, just stuff a rag in the intake. You don't want anything getting in there. Weirder things have happened, you know, dirt, nuts, bolts, heck, even a bird or a rodent could get in there. You never know. So just plug it off. Well, let's get to the bench and I'll show you the throttle body. Now, if you have electronic throttle body, something like this, the first thing you want to do is look up the relearn procedure. Some of them can be done manually, but the greater portion of them, you need a bidirectional scan tool to properly do the relearn. For these Chevys, there is a relearn procedure you can do manually, and there also is the scan tool version. I honestly haven't had much success with the manual one, but we're going to give it a try and see if it works before we do the scan tool one. Now, if you decide to clean it with it on a vehicle, especially these electronic throttle bodies, you got to be very, very careful having your fingers in the throttle blades. If you have it open and your fingers inside and that decides to close, there's a lot of force on there. You can end up losing your finger. So be careful. Another tip is when you're doing your cleaning, these are electric motor here. You want to make sure that you don't hold the throttle body with the electronic motor on the bottom, because you can get cleaner in that throttle shaft inside here and it'll never come out. You can end up screwing up the electronics and causing yourself to have to end up buying a whole new throttle body. We don't want that. Now, it's perfectly normal over driving that you're going to get some carbon buildup inside the throttle body. As you can see, the black there, that's on the outside. You flip it over, you can also see it on the inside. Now, if that gets too built up, it could impede the flow of the air, because even with this blade closed, you're going to have a little bit of air movement going past the throttle blade. As you can see here, I've got the flashlight underneath it. So as that carbon builds up, it can restrict that flow. Now, also your computer, as you drive, it'll sense that and it'll learn the closed position of the throttle blade. So it'll constantly try to keep that distance the same. But when the buildup gets too bad, you just need to either replace the throttle body or clean it. Now, symptoms of a dirty throttle body could be a low idle or even a high idle, but more commonly, just off idle, as you start to accelerate, you'll get kind of a jerky sensation, or as you're cruising and you let it come down to idle, it could run rough and almost stall, because basically you've returned your throttle to the closed position and the computer hasn't opened up the throttle valve to give you a little bit of airflow, so you can get an unstable idle or possibly even a stalling situation if it's bad enough. Or with these electronic throttle bodies, you can also get a check engine light issue, and when you pull your codes, it'll be throttle body related, something like that. You know, before you go replacing your throttle body, it might be worthwhile trying to clean it. Now, like I said earlier, before you even start cleaning it, you want to be aware of the relearn procedure, and if that doesn't work, you want to make sure you have access to somebody with a bidirectional scan tool. If you clean it and it doesn't want to do the relearn, you can get a very high idle, check engine light, and other issues. And the last thing you want to do is drive it when the idle is up, 2,000, 2,500 RPM. You start that, if your engine's running at that speed, you put it into gear, that's a huge shock to your drivetrain. And if the relearn doesn't work, you might end up even having to tow it to the shop to get the relearn done with someone with a good scan tool. But let's clean it and then we'll put it back on and we'll see what our idle's like and go from there. And we'll start off with doing the manual relearn. And if that doesn't work, then I'll hook up my scan tool and do it with that. Well, let's get this thing cleaned up. Best way I found to clean these throttle bodies is get yourself a good can of throttle body cleaner. Get yourself an old toothbrush or even a nylon brush, something like this. You don't want to use anything metal because the last thing you want to do is scratch the inside of the throttle body. Now also look in your manual. Some of these throttle bodies have a coating on the inside, and if you start spraying cleaner in it, you're buying yourself a new throttle body. So do your research first. So I usually give everything a good spray first, front and back, especially if your buildup's too much. I usually let that throttle body cleaner soak for a few minutes and just start loosening up the carbon. Now I don't really recommend just spraying the cleaner in, going full bore with it, because like I said earlier, you don't want to get any carb cleaner up into your electronics assembly. So I usually spray the cleaner directly on a toothbrush or even a rag, hold your butterfly open, and just start cleaning away. So like I said, spray your toothbrush or whatever you're using to clean it with, and just gently start scrubbing, making sure you get all the areas. You can see how black and gross this is. So we'll keep on going until it's all nice and clean. Just give a little wipe here to show you what we're dealing with here. You want to get all that out of there. Okay, so now it's all clean. You can almost see how much more daylight there is around that throttle valve. So I wouldn't be surprised one bit we put this thing back on and our idle's going to be very high, and it'll definitely need a relearn procedure done on it. Well, let's get it bolted on and see what we got. So now what you want to do, pull your rag out. I usually make sure I always have a new throttle body O-ring just in case the old one rips, but hey, you got it off, might as well put a new one on. And then you bolt your new or your clean throttle body on and put the rest of your intake piping on. When you start it up, the idle is on the poor side. First it's low, a little unstable, kind of goes up a little bit. So what you do, you start it up, let it idle for 3 minutes. I always use a stopwatch, that way I know I get my times right. So just let it idle and park for 3 minutes, and when 3 minutes is up, you shut it off. Now it's normal for the idle to hunt and surge a little bit while it tries to find its happy spot. Now during this 3 minute period, it's important to keep your foot off the gas and don't interrupt it. Okay, so after your 3 minutes is up, you want to shut it off and leave it off for 1 minute. Okay, so after your minute's up, start it up and let it idle again for 3 minutes. Now in this 3 minute period, it's still normal to have a little bit of fluctuation in the idle, but you should start seeing it get a little bit better. Now during this procedure, don't be alarmed if your check engine light pops up. After this 3 minutes is over, we'll shut it off, let it sit for another minute, and then we'll turn it on and clear the code. Okay, so this 3 minute period is up. We'll shut it off, reset our timer, and after a minute's up, we'll turn it on, scan the codes, and clear whatever's there. Okay, so our minute's up. Now I'll turn our ignition on. And let's scan it and see what codes popped up. And we got a P0507 idle speed high. So what we'll do, we'll just clear this. Clear codes. Yes. Codes cleared. So now let's start it up and see how our idle is. Fluctuating still a little bit. Well, let's start our timer, and we'll do it for 3 minutes again. We'll give it one more shot. Okay, this 3-minute period's up. Shut her off. Reset. We'll try this one more time. And this minute's up. Start it up, and we'll hope for the best. Let it run for a little while, kind of stabilize. Yeah, we're still fluctuating. Might actually have to go in with a scan tool and do a forced relearn. So to do it through the scan tool is actually quite easy. It's kind of hard to focus here. So once you enter in your information, like up top, you go down to functional test, enter. Go down to module setup. And idle learn reset. Press yes. Engine must be off and key on. That's what we've got. Continue. And to select, press yes. Procedure in progress. Please wait. Test is complete. Now you got to back out of it. Quick and easy. Let's start it up and see how our idle is. Idling nice and smooth. Boy, that tack looks like it's hardly even moving. Definitely runs much nicer than before. Now to get a shop to do that relearn like I did, generally most shops will charge you probably about an hour's worth of labor, because generally anytime they hook up the scan tool, you're looking at about an hour. Now the way I tried to relearn it before, with starting it, running it for 3 minutes, shutting off for a minute, doing that over and over, and even taking it for test drives and stuff like that, you know, a guy could spend a good few hours trying to get the idle down and still not have any success. So, I don't know, has anybody had any luck doing the relearn with the 3 minutes on and 1 minute off? Let me know in the comment section if you have, or if you got any other ideas of how you can relearn it without using a scan tool. And even if you service the throttle body yourself or replace it yourself, and you still end up having to take it to a shop for a relearn, you know, you're still ahead of the game. You're not paying them the labor to clean it and change it and parts markup, you know, stuff like that. Well, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and notification bell in the bottom right hand corner. That way you get notified when I get new videos coming out. Well, that's it for tonight, everybody. Have a good night and keep wrenching.